Hi, everybody. It's Miss Verbanic. Okay, so this is going to be our second math lesson for a new unit of measurement for week 2. Okay, so last week we taught, or beginning of this week, my last lesson, we talked a lot about the criteria for measuring and making sure that we have the correct endpoints when we're measuring, making sure that the cubes are staying together, that there's no gaps when you're measuring, especially with your centimeter cubes, and making sure you're not overlapping them, okay? All right, so today we're gonna talk about something slightly different. We're still gonna review everything that we've gone through before, but I just wanna make sure that we're following along. That way, if you have any questions on the packets, I'll be able to answer them, okay? All right. So I'm going to share the screen now. All right. So again, my review, what are the criteria for success for measuring an object? Okay. So if I'm looking at this one right here, this is from our first lesson, and it says, Sarah lined up her centimeter cubes to find the length of the picture in the paintbrush. Sarah thinks the picture of the paintbrush is 5 centimeter cubes long. Is she right? Okay. So if we're looking right here, friends, these are centimeter cubes that she's saying, okay? So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you guys notice anything wrong with the way that she measured these? Well, I know that she's done a couple things that looked funny. So our first thing we got to remember is our endpoints, okay? So when we put an object down to measure, we want to draw out the endpoints or the end lines, okay? So right here are my end lines, my endpoints, okay? Right there. So if I was to draw it straight up, ooh, kind of crosses right over that, doesn't it? So it looks like if I hit the back button, you can see that she overlapped that slightly, right? She didn't start right on the end line or the end point. So that was her first mistake, okay? The second biggest mistake I see is this huge gap in between each centimeter cube, okay? Make sure when you're measuring that you want to make sure, let's see if I can find some cubes for you. You want to make sure that, let's see this here. You want to make sure that your cubes aren't sitting like this in the paper, that they're all touching, okay? So they're all touching exactly the same, right? Okay, that's how I want them to look when they're on your paper, right? Okay. So that was her second mistake. So is her answer correct with 5 centimeter cubes? No way. Because the first thing she didn't line them up on the end point. And secondly, she left huge gaps between each one. Okay, so it didn't measure out correctly. Okay, all right, that was a quick review. Now, I kind of wanted to go into this because I saw one of your problems had to do with marking, maybe basically putting down your centimeter cube, marking it, and moving on. Okay, so my question to place to you guys says, what could Abby do if she only had 1 centimeter cube? So if someone told her that she needed to measure this blue line and she only had this little cube, is she going to say, sorry, I only have 1 cube, it's not going to work? No, what could she do? Think about it. Maybe she could make a mark for each one. So just as we make a mark for our end line, so let's do that right now. Actually, I'll get a nice straight line. Okay, so I'll draw that. There's my first end line, and here's my second end line, right? Okay, so what I want us to do now is think. So here could be my first one, right? Let's put it right on the end line. What could I do to add it on to the next one? What could you do on your paper? That's right, you could mark it, right? Okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna make a tiny little mark right there, okay? Now, since I have that mark, just like I made that end line mark or that end point, I can physically pick it up and pretend that's my new one, right? Okay, so there's my second one. Once I picked it up and moved it and it's lined up correctly with the next new endpoint that I made, I could make another mark, okay? So make another mark. And I could keep moving it on and on until I got to the end, okay? All right, I'll try to do this as quickly as I can. So you're gonna be able to do this on one of your problems where it asks, what's a way that, I think it uses Abby too, that she could measure this line with only 1 centimeter cube, okay? All right, I'm actually gonna stop there because I think this is gonna take a little while, but you'll get the gist. So basically for each one of these, I could say that was 1 cube, this was 2 cubes, this was 3 cubes, that was 4 cubes, this was 5, and then you keep going on and on, okay? All right, so my focus question, how can we use the mark and move forward strategy to measure with centimeter cubes, okay? And again, we just talked about that. You can make a new endpoint, you put it on, make another notch, and keep moving it on, okay? So that's gonna work when we start to make we're gonna make our own centimeter rulers, okay? Again, with my pen, if I only gave you guys 1 centimeter cube, guess what? You could figure this out, right? So again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my endpoints because that's important. That shows me where I need to start. Okay, so there's 1, okay, and then there's 2, okay? Not exactly straight right now, but at home you'll have your ruler. So what I would do, I take my centimeter cube right here, line it up, okay? Make a mark on my paper. So again, this pen would be laying flat on your paper, right? So I can make a mark, then I move it on to the next one, right? Moving on to the next one, okay? And I just keep doing that till I know how much this pen is worth, right? Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can do this quickly. All right, so does this make sense, everyone? All right, so just quickly finish this up. All right, I'm gonna move the cube again. Takes a couple more times. Again, at home, I don't want you to rush this. I'm just trying to hurry right now. Ooh, looks like it might not fit all of them, right? So this is probably only going to do half a one, okay? So if I was to count this, here I'll do it in a nice red color. This would be 1 cube, 2 cubes, 3 cubes, 4 cubes, 5 cubes, 6 cubes, 7 cubes, 8 cubes, and I would say almost 9 cubes, okay? So you could either say 8.5, which would look like that. So 8.5 or 9, okay? All right, let me quickly just go on to, so I know that you guys too have been working on these word problems as well, okay? So I just wanted to share with you, this is on your work packet, to make sure that you're still using your bar models when you're doing this. So I'll quickly read number 4. Jayla measured her puppet's legs to be 23 centimeters long. And again, I want you to do that close reading. So I'm going to underline that 23. The stomach is 7 centimeters long. And the neck and head together are 10. So they're asking, what is the total length of the puppet? Okay, so again, if I was to do this like this, my 4 square, I don't know what my whole amount is, do I? No, I don't, but I know my parts. One of my parts, which is the legs, is 23, okay? One of my other parts, which is the stomach, is 7. And then remember the neck and head, which is my last part, is 10, okay? So when I want to find that whole, when I know all my parts, right, all I'm going to do is add them because it says what is the total length, okay? So that means I'm adding, right? So if I had my bar model, I would know that one of my parts is 23. The next part is 7, okay? And the last part would be 10, okay? So my question is, how much is it all together? Okay, so I'm gonna add 23 plus 10, make sure you're lining them up, plus 7, okay? 7 plus 3 is what? 7 in my pocket, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can't leave that in the 1, so I have to carry the 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? All right, so I'm not going to check my work at this point right now because I'm just going to finish up this lesson because I know it's been pretty long. So what am I doing this in, right? What is my units? If I look back up to read, it says what? 23 centimeters. So I could say in my answer that what? Oops. The total length of the puppet is 40 centimeters. Okay? All right. So if you guys have any questions on the packet or anything new that we're doing, just make sure your parents give me a phone call or a text, okay? All right. I hope you guys have a great night. Okay, bye-bye.